and others, I request kindly mute yourself. Good morning, everyone. Today's lecture is on gravity dams continuation. We have been discussing about the gravity dams for the past few classes. We tried to start with the definition of a gravity dam, followed by various forces acting on a gravity dam. We have seen some of the forces may be causing overturning to the dam. Some of the forces may be causing stability to the dam, like self-weight. So we analyzed all these forces, and in the previous class, we discussed about what are the various causes of failure and the stability analysis of a gravity dam. Today's lecture, we try to concentrate on two important topics: the elementary profile and practical profile of a gravity dam, followed by what is this limiting height of a gravity dam. So we see about the elementary profile and what is a practical profile, followed by low gravity dam and high gravity dam. Gravity dam can be numerically to say how high it should be. It is not a simple numerical value to specify that if the height of the dam is so and so. It depends on so many other parameters, like what is the material used for the construction of the gravity dam, and what is the allowable stress, that means grade of concrete, etc., are the parameters to decide about a gravity dam to be a low dam or a high dam. So limiting height of this low gravity dam we discuss in today's class. Let us see elementary profile. USBR specified the rules for the stability requirement of a gravity dam. So we have seen various types of failures, possible types of failures, like crushing, maybe compression, like or developing tension in the body of the dam, within the body of the dam, or the dam may fail by overturning, the dam may fail by shear, etc. So United States Bureau of Reclamation specified certain requirements for a gravity dam to be safe. So all these modes of failures we have seen. The simplest section of a gravity dam is a right angle triangle. The simplest section is a right angle triangle. As can be seen in the figure, the simplest section is like this, is a right angle triangle, and this is called the elementary profile of a gravity dam. So what are the features of this? The features is that it is a simple triangular section, and the apex of this triangular section would be exactly at the level of the FRL, full reservoir level. Another thing is that the upstream face of this dam is fully vertical. The upstream face is vertical, and the apex of the triangle is directly at the FRL. This is the simplest section of a gravity dam, known as the elementary profile. It is a right angle triangle, upstream face is vertical, apex will be at FRL. Apex will be at FRL. For such type of section, you can see only few forces that may be acting. We assume, because it's elementary profile, to start with, we may assume that only few forces are acting. So what are those forces? So if you see here the water pressure, so the water pressure intensity diagram will be a triangular distribution having its maximum intensity at the base, gamma h. So as the value of h, the depth is increasing from the free surface, the pressure intensity also increases. As a result, at the free surface, since there is no pressure intensity of water, the width of the profile, the section, is 0. As the depth is increasing, the pressure intensity is increasing, correspondingly the width of the elementary profile also is increased. Wherever you have a maximum pressure intensity, like at the bottom, you have the maximum base width. You have the maximum base width. This is the simple section, elementary profile of a gravity dam. And whenever you are constructing the dam, naturally there will be self-weight, and also by definition of a gravity dam, the self-weight of the dam itself should be able to resist all the forces coming onto the dam. So the self-weight of the dam may be assumed to act through its CG. Since you have a simple triangular section, if B is the base weight, then the self-weight W will act through the CG, maybe from the heel 1/3 of B, from the toe 2/3 of B. Okay, so this is the elementary profile, and you have a water pressure diagram. And in this, only two forces are considered: the self-weight as well as the pressure intensity, hydrostatic water pressure, which is occurring because of the water stored in the reservoir. Of course, there may be other case where you may need to consider the uplift also. Let us go one by one with clear understanding. The stresses developed in such a profile are to be examined to ensure its safety against failure. We need to see that whenever a dam is constructed, it should be safe, it should not fail. So we are considering a simple elementary section. We try to look at with this elementary section whether this is safe or not. To verify that what are the stresses which are developed here. So whether the dam material and the dam section is able to resist the stresses developed or not. So to ensure the enough freeboard and the top width for a dam, for a roadway, the elementary profile is modified and is called the practical profile. This is the difference between the elementary profile and a practical profile. We have just seen elementary profile is a simple triangle with its free surface and apex joining. For a practical profile, it is slightly different, where you have a little freeboard. This is called the freeboard. That means the height of the dam, which is provided over and above the FRL, is called the freeboard. Further, the top is not simply zero. The top width is not simply zero. Instead, you will be providing a little width at the top, because this will enable us to move over the body of the dam, which can be used as a roadway, maybe for inspection purpose, maybe for connecting the two banks. It could be a state highway, it could be a national highway also. So a practical profile of a gravity dam would be not a simple triangle, but it is having two more provisions. Provision one is there will be freeboard. Provision two is there will be top width. These two, if they are there, then we say that it is a practical profile. Elementary profile is a simple triangle, apex corresponding to the FRL. Practical profile on the other side is not a triangular section, but there will be freeboard, there will be top width. So to ensure enough freeboard and top width for the dam, for a roadway, the elementary profile is modified and is called the practical profile. Sometimes the practical profile also will be further modified. You can see here there is a freeboard provided and there is a top width provided. Based on various pressures which are coming onto the dam, the base width may not be sufficient. To resist all the forces coming onto the dam section, in which case, instead of having a vertical upstream face, you may have a little inclined upstream face like this. So you would like to increase the base width. Once the base width is increased, weight of material also will be increased. If the sulfate of the dam is increased, it can resist more pressures. That is the reason there may be cases in certain instances where the pressures which are developed on the dam are more and more. Instead of providing a vertical upstream face, you may have an inclined upstream face also to increase the base width. So the extra width is added on the upstream side. Why this extra width is added? To see that all the forces which are coming into the dam are resisted by the sulfate itself. The sulfate of the dam is increased. So to increase the sulfate of the dam, base width is increased. So this is how the practical profile, having freeboard as well as the top width. This top width will be used as a roadway. We are showing only a section here. So on the top of it, the vehicular movement will be there. On the top of this vehicular movement will be there. This is a road. So a dam is considered to be a low gravity dam as long as the height of the dam is such that it conforms to the practical profile and the maximum principal stresses are within the permissible stresses for the material of the dam. Otherwise, it becomes a high dam. So you have low dam, high dam. The definitions are very clearly given. Low gravity dam, the height of the dam is such that it conforms to the practical profile. Maximum principal stresses are within the permissible. So if the stresses developed are within the permissible stresses of the dam material, naturally the dam will be safe. Otherwise, it becomes a high dam. Low gravity dam, high gravity dam. Look at this figure to have a clear picture and distinction between the low dam and a high dam. So a low dam with an elementary profile, if you see, elementary profile, simple triangular section which is provided. So this simple triangular section may not be sufficient to resist all the forces which are coming onto the dam. In such case, we provide an increased base width by providing a slope as well as the height also is increased. So it becomes a high dam. So this is the limit of the low dam section, and you are increasing more and more base width, you are increasing more and more depth of the dam, then it becomes a high dam. How much more it is? We analyze this. We analyze now. Gravity dams are constructed from the masonry. Usually it will be made up of concrete or masonry, but concrete gravity dams are more preferred these days because the ease in construction. We have got a lot of advanced technology in constructing a gravity dam. Only thing is, it's very costly, but the maintenance is very less. But the structure is highly durable. It can last for a very long period. So the gravity dams are more preferred compared to the masonry gravity dams. Concrete gravity dams are more preferred. Concrete gravity dams are more preferred. Look at this elementary profile for a gravity dam. To understand better, this is the apex of a triangular section, and the elementary profile of a gravity dam is a simple triangle. This is what we have been defining from the beginning. So a simple triangle. The base width is B, and H is the height of water. So the apex and FRL are coinciding. This is the elementary profile by definition. Then what are the loads which are coming onto this? The self weight of this triangular section is acting through its CG, maybe at a distance of B by 3. From the heel, it is at a distance of B by 3, and from the toe, it acts at a distance of 2B by 3 through its CG. Then there is horizontal water pressure force P. This horizontal water pressure force will be equal to the area of the water pressure intensity diagram. As we have seen, it is also a triangular distribution having zero pressure intensity at the full reservoir level, maximum pressure intensity of gamma H at the base. So area of this pressure diagram of maybe gamma H multiplied by the H would be equal to the hydrostatic pressure, which is acting at a distance of H by 3 from the base, 2H by 3 from the FRL, from the top, from the free surface, it will act at a distance of 2H by 3. From the base, it acts at a distance of H by 3. So there are two major loads which are coming on the elementary profile. We are considering the other two forces. Other forces also would be there, but we are not considering at the moment because we'd like to see that the analysis, how simple it is to understand better, and we try to go further towards adding another forces also to this, maybe uplift force, etc. Okay, so the sulfate acting vertically downwards through its CG, and horizontal water pressure P, which is acting at a distance of H by 3 from the base. There are two forces. So the resultant are maybe acting like this. The resultant of all these two forces may be acting like this. So this practical profile should be safe, should become safe, provided the resultant is passing through this middle third of the base. That means central B by 3 portion through which the resultant must pass through. In the figure, you will be able to identify the base width B of the dam is divided into 3 parts, 3 equal parts, and B by 3, central B by 3, and outer B by 3. From toe to heel, the total base width B is divided into 3 parts. Then W is acting exactly at B by 3, and R should act through this point, maybe a point M2. Thereby the dam becomes safe. Let us see whether it is passing through or not. Considering only two major forces acting on a gravity dam, namely weight of the dam and the water pressure, it is possible to demonstrate that the ideal profile of a gravity dam would be a simple right-angled triangle. So if the reservoir is empty, no water on the upstream side, no water on the upstream side, then what will happen? Just go back to the previous side. If the reservoir is empty, there is no water on the upstream side, in which case the load that is coming onto the dam will be only the sulfate of the dam, and this sulfate W of the dam will be acting at a distance of 2B by 3 from the toe or B by 3 from the heel. So W acts like this. So this is the M1, the point through which it is acting, If the reservoir is full, there will be hydrostatic water pressure also. The resultant may be passing through the point M2. So M1 and M2 at a distances of B by 3, from the heel and toe of the elementary profile of a gravity dam. So with the reservoir empty, the resultant strikes the base at the upper middle third point M1. With the reservoir full, the resultant should be made to strike at the lower middle third point M2 to avoid any tension. If W is the sulfate of the dam and P is the water pressure force, then what are the various vertical stresses which are acting at the toe or heel of the dam may be given by this expression. The normal stress Pn would be equal to, as we already seen in the previous class, sigma V by B, 1 plus or minus 6E by B. So here the vertical phase is only the vertical force is only the sulfate of the dam. So sigma V, algebraic sum of all the vertical forces will be simply W, the sulfate. So W by B into 1 plus or minus 6E by B. If you use plus sign, you will be getting the normal stress at toe, and if you use minus sign, you will be getting normal stress at the heel. So W by B, 1 plus or minus 6E by B. B is the base width and E is the eccentricity of the resultant from the middle third of the base. So with respect to the half, with respect to the center or middle of the base, maybe with respect to the center of the base, how the point of application of the resultant force may be considered to be the eccentricity. For a right angle triangle of base width B and height h, what is the weight? The weight of the dam per meter length would be equal to, how do you calculate the weight of the dam? It is the specific weight of the dam material multiplied by the volume of the dam material. Volume of the dam material. So specific weight will be equal to weight by volume into volume. So volume and volume, both in denominator and numerator gets cancelled. You will be remaining with the weight of the dam. So to compute the weight of the dam, we need the volume of the dam. So the volume of the dam usually will be taken per meter length, per unit length only we will be considering. So cross-sectional area of the dam multiplied by 1 meter length gives you the volume. So you need to have the sectional area of the dam. We have seen it is a triangle having a base width B and height h. So half of BH, half of B into H gives you the cross-sectional area multiplied by 1 gives the volume into the specific weight of the dam material. So this specific weight of the dam material may be taken to be equal to specific gravity of the dam material multiplied by unit weight of water. Multiplied by unit weight of water, rho gamma. So rho is the specific gravity of the dam material into the gamma, unit weight of water, would be equal to the total weight. This weight is acting at a distance of b by 3 from the upstream vertical face. So rho is the specific gravity of the dam material. Maybe for concrete 2.4 and so on. Okay. So the water pressure, the second force is the water pressure force. So this water pressure force would be equal to the area of the water pressure diagram. So that is also a triangular distribution. We spread for a height of h with the intensity gamma h. So half of gamma h into h, gamma h square by 2 will be equal to the water pressure, which acts 1/3 of the h from the base. You can see here h by 3, the point of application of the hydrostatic water pressure h by 3, and the self-weight W acting at a distance of b by 3 from this point, 2b by 3 from the toe, 2b by 3 from the toe. Now take the moments about the toe. For these two, for the dam to be safe, the overturning and resisting moments must be same. You can see here only two loads are taken. One is the self-weight, which causes stability to the dam, and the other is the hydrostatic water pressure force, which is causing instability to the dam. So with respect to the toe, if you take the moment, the P, hydrostatic water pressure, is causing instability, overturning. W causes the stability, resisting moment. So sum of the overturning moments must be equal to the sum of the resisting moments. So applying that principle, taking the moments about the toe, the water pressure P into H by 3, the point of the lever arm, must be equal to W into B by 3. B is the base width. W into B by 3. So why we are given equal sign here, equal to sign here? Because for the dam to be safe, sum of all the resisting moments must be equal to sum of the overturning moments. So P into H by 3 must be equal to W into B by 3. P already we have evaluated, half of gamma H square by 2, and W, the self-weight, also we have evaluated, half of rho gamma into B into H multiplied by B by 3. So if you simplify this, 2, 3, 2, 3 in the denominator gets cancelled. H here and H here also gets cancelled. You are left with H square is equal to B into rho, or B, the base width will be equal to H by square root of rho. So the base width of elementary profile, considering only the water pressure, would be H by root rho. H by root rho. There are two criterion based on which the base width also can be decided and judged. The eccentricity for which case would be the eccentricity for this case would be exactly B by 3, because with respect to the center, this W, the resultant R is acting at a distance of B by 3 from the toe. So B by 2 minus B by 3. I'll just show you again in the figure. This is the resistance which is acting at a distance of B by 3, while the center of the base will be exactly at B by 2. So B by 2 minus B by 3 gives you the eccentricity with respect to the center, which will be equal to B by 6. So with this, the vertical stress at the toe with the reservoir full, applying B by 6 in this equation, you'll be getting twice W by B, and at heel, of course, it would be equal to 0. So you need to apply here E is equal to B by 6 with the plus sign, E is equal to B by 6 with the minus sign. You will be getting the normal stress or the vertical stress at the toe and at the heel, 2W by B and it's 0. So base width based on there are two criterion, like stress criterion as well as the sliding criterion, based on which the base width of an elementary profile can be evaluated. So from the stress criterion, take the uplift also into account with the uplift intensity factor zeta, the base width from the stress criteria also can be obtained. So how to evaluate, how to estimate this uplift pressure? Once again, there will be uplift intensity diagram. Uplift pressure intensity diagram is a triangular distribution. It is a triangular distribution. So gamma h, and it extends for a distance of b. So half of b into gamma h, and you have to multiply with the intensity factor, uplift intensity factor zeta. So half of b into zeta into gamma h will be the total uplift. How does it act? It acts vertically upward at a distance of 2/3 from the toe or 1/3 from the heel. You can see here, this is the uplift pressure diagram. Now what we are doing, based on the stress criteria, considering the additional force, what should be the base width of this elementary profile we are trying to evaluate. So this is a simple triangular section having a base width b. W is the self height of the section, self height of this elementary profile, and h is the height of water, and hence gamma h is the water pressure intensity. Similarly, there will be uplift u also. This uplift pressure can be estimated based on the area of this uplift intensity, pressure intensity diagram. So this is spread for a distance of b, entire base width. So half of gamma h into b multiplied by the uplift intensity factor zeta would give you the total uplift pressure u. Total uplift pressure u. You have now three forces which are acting on this elementary profile. Self height acting vertically downwards at a distance of 2b/3 from the toe. Horizontal hydrostatic water pressure force P, which is acting at a distance of h/3 from the base. Third one is the uplift U, which is acting at a distance of 2b/3 from the toe of the dam. Now take the moments of all these forces. Conveniently, you may take the moments from with respect to M2, the lower middle third point. Then you will be getting the water pressure multiplied by the lever arm h/3. Then the uplift pressure multiplied by the lever arm b/3, and the self weight multiplied by the value b/3. So accordingly, the simplification will provide you the base width b square into rho minus zeta will be equal to h square, or b is equal to h by square root of rho minus zeta. In the earlier case, you have got simply h by rho. In the earlier case, you have got simply what is that? You have got the base width b. The base width being h by root rho. Now you have got h by root rho minus zeta. What is zeta? It is uplift intensity factor. So to be on a safer side, zeta may be assumed to be equal to 0. That means you may not be considering the uplift also. Then it will be simply h by root rho. Now the base width from the sliding criteria, for no sliding to occur, horizontal force causing the sliding should be balanced by the frictional resistance opposing the same. So the mu multiplied by sigma v must be equal to sigma h. What is sigma v? Sigma v is algebraic sum of all the vertical forces. There are two vertical forces acting, which is the self weight acting vertically downwards, uplift which is acting vertically upwards. So mu multiplied by W minus U must be equal to horizontal force, horizontal water pressure force P. So substituting these values here, W the self weight, half of gamma rho gamma into pH minus U, the uplift half of zeta gamma hb is equal to gamma by 2 into h square. So from this you can see the base width b will be equal to h by mu into rho minus zeta. You have got two criterion. Based on these two criterion, like stress criterion and sliding criterion, you may be getting two different values of the base weight. The maximum base width to be provided for the elementary profile of the gravity dam should be greater than the values given by these two. You have the base width based on the stress criteria, you have the base width based on the sliding criteria. So what is the value to be provided? Maximum of these two should be taken as the base width of the dam. In most of the cases, it will be more than these two also. While checking the stability analysis, we can understand that better. So what are the various stresses that are developed in this elementary profile? What are the stresses that are developed? We have seen the normal stress Pn is given by sigma b by b into 1 plus or minus 6e by b. You use plus sign, you will be getting the normal stress at the toe. You will be using minus sign, you will be getting the normal stress at the heel. Okay, so sigma v, algebra sum of the forces. We are considering only two forces in this case. One is the self weight and the uplift One is vertically downwards and the other is vertically upward. Two vertical forces only we are considering. So sigma B equal to algebraic sum of W and U. W vertically downwards and uplift vertically upwards. So W minus U, substituting the values here, and E is equal to B by 6 for no tension, which indicates for the full reservoir condition we already seen. E is the eccentricity. So with respect to the middle of the base, the point of application of the resultant will be at the middle third. So it will be B by 3 from the toe. With respect to center, it is B by 2 minus B by 3. So which would be equal to B by 6. So for no tension, which indicates for the reservoir full condition, the normal stress at toe will be equal to 2 into sigma B by B, or 2 into W minus U by B. 2 by B into W, and you substitute the values of self-weight as well as uplift. Accordingly, you will be getting the normal stress as gamma H into rho minus zeta. Gamma H into rho minus zeta. Please note that zeta is uplift intensity factor and rho is the specific gravity of the dam material. It is not the mass density or specific mass. Okay, the rho is the notation for specific gravity of the dam material. Okay, for water 1.0, for dam material concrete it may be 2.4, or for masonry it may be 2.24, so on. Okay, so your gamma H into rho minus zeta is the normal stress which is acting at the heel, at the toe. Similarly, at the heel also you will be able to compute. This is the normal stress at the toe. Similarly, the normal stress at the heel by taking the minus sign, and substituting all the values, you will be getting 0 directly because E is going to be by 6. E is going to be by 6, which indicates that at the heel there is no tension developed, and at toe there is a normal stress of Pn, and this normal stress Pn must be within the permissible or allowable stress. So the principal stress at the toe, as you have seen in the previous class, the principal stress Pn secant squared phi. Pn secant squared phi. Pn, the normal stress we have seen, gamma H into rho minus zeta, which we have just now computed, into secant squared phi 1 plus tan squared phi. 1 plus tan phi is B by H from the figure. It's a triangular section, so 1 plus B by H is square. So, but B, what is B now? H by square root of rho minus zeta. If you substitute sigma 1, the principal stress at the toe will be equal to gamma H into rho minus zeta plus 1. Rho minus zeta plus 1. Similarly, the shear stress will be Pn into tan phi, and substitute for Pn, gamma H into rho minus zeta. Tan phi is B by H. So, gamma H into rho minus zeta into 1 minus square root of rho minus zeta, we will be getting gamma H into square root of rho minus zeta. Since the normal stress at the heel is 0, the principal and shear stresses also will be at the heel will be 0 for a reservoir full condition. At the heel it will be 0, but at the toe the shear stress and the principal stress have been computed. How to know the limiting height of this low gravity dam? At what condition the low gravity dam becomes a high dam? So based on this stress criterion and sliding criterion, we have seen the principal stresses which we have computed as sigma 1 will be equal to gamma H into rho minus zeta plus 1. As the value of H is increasing, sigma 1 also increases. You can see here the sigma is directly proportional to H. So the maximum value of the principal stress should not exceed the allowable compressive stress. Allowable compressive stress will depend on the material used. For concrete, what is the maximum allowable compressive stress? It depends on the grade of concrete that you are using, like M20, M25, M30, M35, and so on. So this allowable compressive stress, say lambda for the raw material which is given, lambda. Then in the limiting case, lambda must be equal to gamma H into rho minus zeta plus 1. That means it cannot exceed more than that. It cannot exceed lambda, and hence as a limiting case, lambda must be equal to gamma H into rho minus zeta plus 1. Or H, the height will be equal to lambda by gamma into rho minus zeta plus 1. This is the height. This is the height. If you neglect the uplift, zeta will be equal to 0. So H will be equal to lambda by gamma into rho plus 1. If the height of the dam is more than the value which you are obtaining based on this equation, then the maximum compressive stress exceeds the permissible stress. So if the height of the dam is more, than which is computed based on this, then you have the maximum compressive stress which is exceeding the allowable or permissible stress of the dam material. So this becomes the limiting height. So if the height of the dam is greater than that given by this equation, the dam is called high dam, Otherwise, it is called a low dam. As I have been indicating from the beginning, low dam, high dam will not be a simple numerical value, but it depends on the material that you have used. What is the material that you have used here? Suppose you have used concrete of a specific grade. So what is its permissible stress? And what is the specific gravity of that dam material? So this is the criteria based on which the limiting height of a dam can be judged. Thus, a low gravity dam is one in which the maximum compressive stress at the toe does not exceed the permissible stress when the resultant passes through the lower middle third point, considering the dam to follow a elementary profile. So based on that, the elementary profile limiting height can be taken for a given condition of lambda to be equal to 294 Newton per centimeter square. Then the specific of the dam material per concrete 2.4, gamma 9810 Newton per meter cube. Then the limiting height will be, for this condition, it is about 88 meters. So whenever you are using a concrete having the permissible stress of 294 Newton per centimeter square, then we say that the limiting height for a low dam will be 88 meters, which means if the height of the dam is less than 88 meters, it is a low dam. If it is more than 88 meters, it is a high dam. But it is not generic. It is only for the given condition. For this given condition. For low dams, the basis of design should be that of an elementary profile. The aim being, throughout each section of the dam, so far as practicable, to keep the lines of resistance with the full reservoir or reservoir full or reservoir empty condition, the resistance must fall, the resultant of all the forces must fall within the central middle third of this horizontal joint and as close to the extremities of the outer boundaries of this zone as possible. You can see here M1, M2. If this resultant R is passing in between these M1 and M2, the dam becomes safe without having any tension on the heel, without having higher compressive stresses at the toe of the dam. A high gravity dam is the one in which the maximum compressive stress would be exceeded if the resultant were passed through the middle third point. This is the biggest problem for a low gravity dam. If the resultant is passing beyond this middle third point, then there will be more and more compressive stresses which are developed at the toe. The dam becomes unsafe. So a low gravity dam must be converted into a high gravity dam by providing more base weight by increasing more height of the dam. So to avoid this excessive stress, the resultant must be maintained still nearer to the center of the base, for which purpose the downstream slope to be flattened and the upstream portion is also provided with a batter. So you will be providing more slope for the downstream portion. If the more slope is provided at the downstream portion, more base width will be achieved. If more base width is achieved, the resultant will fall within the middle third. If the slope is less, the resultant may be crossing beyond the middle third point, which is causing more compression at the toe, more tension at the heel, leading to the failure of the dam. So a low gravity dam would be converted into a high gravity dam in a case where if the resultant which is passing through this should pass within the middle third. If it is crossing the middle third, you need to increase the base weight by increasing the depth or by providing upstream slope, by increasing the slope at the downstream portion. More base weight will be provided, then a low dam becomes a high dam. So this picture gives you a clear change between low dam to the development of a high dam. The practical profile of a gravity dam will not be a simple triangle. It is something more. It is not a simple triangle. Elementary profile is a simple triangle, but practical profile is not a simple triangle because there is a necessity of providing a crust width as well as a freeboard. So the necessity of having the crust width and the freeboard above the water level alters the position of the lines of the resultant force from those of an elementary profile. Strictly speaking, elementary profile is a simple triangle. As can be seen from the figure, it is a simple triangle. But this elementary profile is converted to a practical profile because of two things. One is that we need to have a roadway at the top. So you can't have a zero width for the dam at the top. We need to have certain width. How this width will be judged? The width will be judged based on several criteria. Of course, certain thumb rules also will be there. one of the most important criteria is it has to connect both the banks. If both the banks are to be connected, is it connecting a simple state highway? Is it connecting a simple inspection road? Or is it connecting a national highway? Based on that, the width of the road also will be decided. If the width of the road is decided, the top width of the dam also will be accordingly decided. This is number one. In the absence of such information, usually it will be taken up with certain thumb rule. So the necessity of having crest width and freeboard above the water level alters the position of the lines of resultant force from those of an elementary profile. So this will bring the resultant towards the center with the reservoir full and thus increasing the stability. But also there is a problem. It throws the resultant a little outside the middle third with the reservoir empty condition. So the measure required to rectify this is to have a slight projection outside the elementary profile also in the lower part and the upstream portions. So this gives the practical profile of a gravity dam having a elementary profile increased with a certain freeboard, provided with a roadway or a top width, and upstream slope is provided. So this is the practical profile. The practical profile would be like this. The practical profile will be like this. So you can see here the base width is increased. The base width is increased. How this is increased? To an extent of A by 16. What is A? A is the top width. So this top width A, the top width A is taken to be the top width A. 1 minute. Yeah, the top width A is taken to be 14% of the total height of the dam. Top width is taken to be 14% of the height of the dam. Similarly, the freeboard is taken to be 1.5 times the height of the waves which are coming there. HW will be able to calculate based on the Fitch. We already we have this equation for that. Okay, so based on the value of H less than 32 or more than 32 kilometers, you will be having you will be getting the value of height of wave HW. Once HW is known, 1.5 times HW gives you the freeboard, and 14% of the H gives you top width, and the depth where the upstream inclination starts will be 2A by 2A root rho. This is the value of 2A root rho. Okay, and here it is A root rho, and 3.1 A root rho is the one at which the upstream inclination ends, and H is this. This is the A by 6. So this is all the practical profile and change of dam section from elementary to the practical profile. We worked out a few problems. As class also I thought of working the problem, but we could not find the time. This time I'd like to extend beyond for about 10 minutes and work out 4 problems quickly. Very simple problems to have clear understanding about the analysis of a dam section. Problem number 1, an ice sheet of thickness 1.22 meters is formed in the surface of the reservoir, which is subjected to a rate of change of temperature of 48 degrees Fahrenheit in 12 hours time. Estimate the ice pressure force. This is what is given. Rate of change of temperature can be calculated based on the value that is given, 48 degrees Fahrenheit in 12 hours. So the rate of change in 1 hour, how much it is changing? 48 by 12. 4 degrees Fahrenheit per hour is the rate of change of temperature. The thickness of ice sheet is given to be 1.22 meters. The ice sheet will be formed on the top of the reservoir at the freeboard. So the ice pressure would be equal to Pi, the ice pressure intensity, multiplied by the thickness of the ice sheet into the time in hours. Time in hours is 12 hours. The thickness of the ice sheet is given to be 1.22. The thickness of the ice sheet is 1.22. And the ice pressure intensity will be 1.2 for a rate of change of temperature of 4 degrees Fahrenheit per hour. So from this is from the standard table. So if you take from that table and substitute, you will be getting the total ice pressure intensity. So this acts at a distance of thickness by 2. So the thickness is 1.22. So from the free surface, it acts at a distance of 1.22 by 2 meters. So this is ice pressure, ice sheet which is formed at the top of the reservoir, and 1.22 meters by 2 is the point of application, which acts, this acts horizontally. This acts horizontally. Second problem, find the pressure and the moments due to an earthquake acceleration of 0.1 g. Earthquake acceleration is taken to be alpha g. Alpha is the quotient of earthquake acceleration. So 0.1 g, which means alpha is equal to 0.1 on a dam of height 126 meters. The total dam height is 126 meters. At the base and at a height of 90 meters from the base. So you need to find the earthquake force and the moment at two places. One is with respect to the base at the height of 126 meters, that means at the top of the dam, and further at a height of 90 meters from the base. So this is section 1. Section 2, we need to find the moments. The dam is a trapezoidal in section with the top width of 9 meters, base width of 93 meters. Total base width is 93 meters. The upstream face being vertical, and the period of earthquake acceleration, the earthquake is 1 second. Unit weight of diameter is 2.4 tons per cubic meter. So at the base first, so you have earthquake inertia force W into alpha. Alpha is the quotient of earthquake acceleration. W is the self weight. So self weight up to that section you need to take. Up to that section 9 meters, and at this portion whatever is the base width that you need to take. Since it is a trapezoidal section having the variation of 9 meters here and 93 meters here, you will be able to find what is the base width at this portion. What is the base width at this portion? Same thing has been done here. 9 plus 93 divided by 2 into 126 will be the total base width here. So 2.4 tons per meter cube is given per unit length. If you consider 0.1 is alpha, and you will be getting the earthquake inertia force at this point. And this will act, because it is a trapezoidal section, this will act through its CG. It will act through its CG. So CG has been computed. A plus 2b by a plus b into h by 3. So it acts at 45.7 meters from the base. Then that is about the inertia force. Then due to mobility, we have the equation given, PH, the earthquake acceleration moments are given. Moment as well as force is given, PH and MEH. So 2/3 of CE alpha root H into y to the power 3 by 2. What is CE? The CE is a coefficient. C is a coefficient given by this equation. In which you need to have value of H as well as the T. Earthquake time is given to be 1 second, and H is 123 meters. So substituting that, you've got the value of CE 2.868. Substituting that value here, alpha 0.1, H is 123, Y is the distance at the base and at the other place. There are two sections which are given. So at the base means Y will be equal to H, 123 meters. So substituting that, you got the force due to earthquake. The moment due to earthquake will be the force multiplied by 2/3 of Y, 2/3 of 123. So you got the moment. So both the things like inertia force, mobility, the moment and force have been computed at the base. Now at the other section also you will be able to compute. This is a section, at this section also you will be able to compute. Same thing at 90 meters. At the 90 meters from the base, once again same thing has been computed. Next problem, determine the wave pressure per unit length of a dam given the wind velocity to be 125 kilometers per hour and fetch to be about 45 kilometers. So height of the wave, which W would be equal to 0.032 into square root of VF. V and F, the values are given here. Simply substitute, you will be getting height of the wave HW. Then correspondingly, force due to waves will be equal to 2 into gamma into HW square, which acts at a distance of 3/8 of this HW. 3/8 of HW above the FRL. So you will be able to compute the point of application as well as the force. Next, determine the freeboard required for a non-overflow dam given that the wind velocity to be 125 km per hour, fetch to be 10 km per hour. Also find the wave pressure per unit length. So height of the wave, as is seen in the earlier case, also 0.032 square root of VF plus 0.763 minus 0.271 into 4th root of F. So this equation, when you have the fetch value F to be less than 32 kilometers. If it is more than 32 kilometers, the other equation only up to this portion, only the first portion. So since it is less than 32 kilometers, substitute the value of V and F here, you will be getting the height of the wave HW. you'll be getting height of the wave HW. Once you know the height of the wave, what is the freeboard? Just now we have seen a thumb rule. We have seen a thumb rule like 1/3 of HW maximum 1.5. 1.5. Okay, so it is 4/3 into 1.412 will be giving you the freeboard corresponding wave pressure 2 gamma HW square acts at a distance of 3/8 of HW. Okay, so this finishes the simple working of the problems for estimating the various loads which are coming onto the dam. We have seen the ice pressure, then hydrodynamic force due to earthquake, hydrostatic force or inertia force, and then the wave pressure force has been estimated. So we'll be finishing this class with this. And if you have any